Welcome to Mindset Mondays, the weekly bite-sized podcast designed to build a happier, healthier headspace. Think of it as a learning snack for your morning commute to set your week up right. I'm Mark Holloway, and today's episode is one I've genuinely been looking forward to recording because the topic underpins almost everything we talk about on this show. Whether we're discussing fear, perfectionism, purpose, or productivity, there's one concept that sits underneath all of it. And that concept is this: do you believe you can change? Because that belief, or the absence of it, shapes more of your life than almost anything else. Today, we're delving into the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset. What they actually mean, the science behind them, what they look like in the real world, and, most importantly, how you can start making the shift this week. Let's get into it. Let me start with a question. Think back to the last time you tried something new and it didn't go well. Maybe it was a job interview that went sideways, a conversation you handled badly, a project that flopped, a skill you tried to learn and found much harder than you expected. Now, what was your internal response? Was it something like, "I'm just not good at this. This isn't for me. I'm not that kind of person." Or was it something more like, "Okay, that didn't work. What can I take from this? What would I do differently next time?" That difference, that tiny fork in the road of your inner dialogue, is the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, and it has enormous consequences. The reason I want to talk about this today is because we live in a world that constantly sends us fixed mindset messages. You're either talented or you're not. You've either got what it takes or you don't. People are born leaders. Some people are just naturally confident. Maths is hard. You're either a numbers person or you're not. These ideas are everywhere, and most of us absorbed them before we were old enough to question them. But here's what the research tells us. They're wrong. And understanding why they're wrong might be one of the most liberating things you do this year. The foundational research on this comes from Dr. Carol Dweck, a professor of psychology at Stanford University. Dweck has spent over 4 decades studying how people relate to learning, challenge, and failure, and her findings have genuinely changed the way we understand human potential. Her work and her best-selling book, Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, first published in 2006, introduced these two terms to the world: fixed mindset and growth mindset. Here's how she defines them. A fixed mindset is the belief that your qualities, your intelligence, your talent, your character are carved in stone. You have a certain amount of ability, and that's that. The goal becomes proving you have enough of it and avoiding situations where you might look like you don't. A growth mindset, on the other hand, is the belief that your most basic qualities can be developed, that talent and intelligence are not the ceiling, they're the starting point, that effort, strategy, and learning from others can grow your abilities over time. In one of her most famous early studies, Dweck and her colleagues gave a group of 10-year-olds a series of fairly easy puzzles. After they completed them, the researchers praised half the children for their intelligence. "Wow, you must be really smart." And the other half for their effort. "Wow, you must have worked really hard." One sentence, that's all. Then they offered all the children a choice: try a harder set of puzzles or stick with the easy ones. The results were striking. The children praised for intelligence, the "you're so smart" group, mostly chose the easier puzzles. They didn't want to risk looking less smart. The children praised for effort, however, the "you worked hard" group, overwhelmingly chose the harder ones. They wanted the challenge. And then when both groups were given a genuinely difficult task that they all struggled with, the fixed mindset group's performance dropped. The growth mindset group actually improved. They leaned in. They persisted. One sentence of praise changed the way children approached challenges. Now think how many messages we've received over a lifetime from parents, teachers, employers, partners that were versions of "you're either smart enough or you're not." And you start to understand how deeply these results get wired in. Dweck also found something important. Mindset isn't binary. It's not that you have a growth mindset or you don't. We all have elements of both. You might have a growth mindset around your professional skills, but a fixed mindset around your body, your social abilities, or your creativity. The work is noticing where your fixed mindset shows up most. Let me paint a picture of what these two mindsets actually look like in the everyday moments of your life, because this is where it gets real. Challenges. A fixed mindset avoids challenges. If there's a chance of failing, it's safer not to try, because failure doesn't mean you didn't succeed at the task. It means you're not good enough as a person. A growth mindset leans into challenges. Difficulty isn't a threat, it's information. It's the gap between where you are and where you could be. Effort. In a fixed mindset, having to try hard is a sign of weakness. If you're truly gifted, it would come easily. This is why so many talented people plateau. They resist effort because effort feels like an admission that they're not as naturally capable as they want to appear. In a growth mindset, effort is the mechanism. Effort is how growth happens. Michael Jordan, one of the greatest athletes who ever lived, was famously cut from his high school basketball team. He didn't take that as evidence that he wasn't a basketball person. He trained harder than almost anyone. He said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." Criticism and feedback. Fixed mindset. Criticism is an attack. It's evidence of your inadequacy. Growth mindset. Criticism is data. It tells you something about how you're coming across or what you could do better. Hugely different relationship with the same information. Other people's success. This one's fascinating. A fixed mindset often finds other people's success threatening. If they're winning, what does that say about me? A growth mindset finds it inspiring. What can I learn from them? What are they doing that I'm not? Now, let's look at some people who've embodied this in extraordinary ways. Oprah Winfrey was told early in her career that she was unfit for television news. She was demoted from her anchor role in Baltimore before eventually finding her way to daytime television. She has spoken openly about the failures, the setbacks, the moments she doubted herself, and how reframing those moments as learning was central to who she became. Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx and one of the world's most successful entrepreneurs, has spoken about her father's habit at the dinner table when she was growing up. Every evening he'd ask, "What did you fail at today?" And if she had a good answer, if she tried something, put herself out there and it hadn't worked, he'd celebrate it. Failure wasn't the opposite of success in her household. It was the evidence of trying. Elon Musk has faced enormous public failures. SpaceX rockets exploding, Tesla on the brink of bankruptcy, projects that didn't survive contact with reality. Whether you admire him or not, his response to failure has consistently been, what do we learn from this? And how do I iterate? That's the growth mindset in action at scale. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter found a home. She was a single mother living on benefits, dealing with depression, starting over after a failed marriage. She didn't take the rejections as evidence that she wasn't a writer. She kept going, and the rest is history. What all of these people share isn't an absence of failure. It's a specific relationship with failure, one that treats it as temporary, instructive, and part of the process. We discussed this in more detail right back in episode 1. So you might be thinking, okay, I get the idea, but this is just feel-good psychology. Is there real evidence that this makes a practical difference? And the answer? Yes, extensively so. Dweck's research, along with subsequent studies by colleagues and independent researchers, has shown that a growth mindset correlates with higher academic achievement, particularly when students hit material they find genuinely difficult, greater resilience in the face of setbacks, better performance in professional and athletic environments, improved relationships, because people with a growth mindset are less defensive, more open to feedback, and more willing to work on conflict. Higher levels of well-being and life satisfaction, because you're not constantly having to protect a fixed image of yourself. A 2019 study published in the journal Nature, which followed nearly 12,000 students, found that a single growth mindset intervention in schools produced measurably better academic outcomes, particularly for students who were underperforming. One session, long-lasting impact. That's how powerful this shift in belief can be. And here's perhaps the most important reason it matters. Your mindset determines what you attempt. If you believe your abilities are fixed, you unconsciously filter out opportunities that feel risky. You self-select into smaller versions of your life. You don't apply for the job, start the project, have the difficult conversation, or take the leap, because failure feels like proof of who you are. The growth mindset opens the aperture. It lets you attempt more, tolerate more discomfort, stay in the game longer, and that, over time, is the single biggest driver of growth. So, how do you actually develop a growth mindset? Because knowing about it and living it are two very different things. I want to be honest with you here. This isn't a switch you flick once and that's that. It's a real practice. It's a set of habits and internal responses you build over time, but there are real concrete things you can start doing. And I'm going to try and give you 2 actionable mindset shifts for this week in just a moment. First though, let me give you the broader 5-step framework. Step 1. Notice your fixed mindset voice. Dweck calls this your fixed mindset persona. It's the inner voice that says, you can't do this, you'll embarrass yourself, you're not smart enough, experienced enough, good enough. The first step is simply noticing when that voice shows up, not arguing with it, not beating yourself up for having it, just noticing, there it is, my fixed mindset is active right now. Awareness is always the starting point. You can't change what you can't see. Step 2, learn the art of yet. This one comes directly from Dweck's work. When you catch yourself saying, I can't do this, simply add the word yet. I can't do this yet. It sounds almost too simple, but it genuinely reframes the statement from a permanent verdict to a current position on a journey. It implies that change is possible, that you're in progress, not finished. I'm not confident in presentations becomes I'm not confident in presentations yet. I'm terrible at setting boundaries becomes I'm not great at setting boundaries yet. The word yet is a doorway. Step 3. Value the process over the outcome. One of the hallmarks of a growth mindset is measuring yourself by effort and progress, not just results. Ask yourself not just, did I succeed, but did I try? Did I learn? Did I improve from last time? This doesn't mean results don't matter, they do. But over-indexing on outcomes and ignoring the process is a recipe for either complacency when things go well or collapse when they don't. Step 4. Reframe failure as feedback. This doesn't mean pretending failure feels good. It often doesn't. But it does mean asking, what is this telling me? What would I do differently? What have I learned about myself or this situation? Every failure contains information. The fixed mindset treats failure as a verdict. The growth mindset treats it as data. Step 5. Seek out difficulty deliberately. Now, growth mindset people aren't masochists. They don't love struggle for its own sake, but they understand that difficulty is the signal that you're operating at the edge of your current ability, and that's exactly where growth happens. Deliberately seeking out what's hard, what's uncomfortable, what stretches you, that's how you build new capacity. Okay, as always, I want to send you away with something concrete. 2 things you can actually do this week, not ideas to think about, but actions to take. So, mindset shift 1, run a fixed mindset audit. At some point this week, I'd suggest towards the end of the week, maybe Friday evening or Saturday morning, take 10 minutes and look back at your week through one specific lens. Ask yourself, where did I hold back this week because I was afraid of looking bad or getting it wrong or failing? Maybe there was a conversation you avoided, something you didn't volunteer for at work, a goal you kept pushing back, a skill you told yourself you just didn't have. Write it down. Don't judge it, just name it. Then ask, if I believed I could get better at this, if I believed my ability in this area was developable, what would I have done differently? The purpose of this isn't to make yourself feel bad for what you didn't do. It's to shine a light on where your fixed mindset is operating most powerfully. Because once you know where it lives, you can start to challenge it. Mindset shift 2. Turn one failure or setback into a learning review. This week, when something doesn't go the way you wanted, and something always does, I want you to resist the urge to either catastrophize or brush past it. Instead, take 5 minutes and ask 3 questions. 1. What actually happened? Just the facts, no story. 2. What did this teach me about the situation, about myself, about what I could do differently? And 3. What's my next move? What do I do with this information? That's it. 3 questions, 5 minutes. But what you're doing is training your brain to treat failure as a feedback loop rather than a verdict. Over time, that changes everything because you stop fearing failure. And when you stop fearing failure, you start attempting more. And when you attempt more, you grow faster. Start this week. Even if something small doesn't go to plan, a conversation, a task, a decision, run it through those 3 questions. So, to bring it all together, growth mindset versus fixed mindset isn't about being positive or negative. It's about a fundamental belief: can I change? Can I grow? Or are my abilities set in stone? The research from Carol Dweck and decades of subsequent work tells us clearly we are not fixed. The brain is plastic. Abilities develop, skills are built, character is shaped by effort, experience, and intention. The idea that talent is destiny is not just unhelpful, it's scientifically inaccurate. The people we admire most, the Oprahs, the Rowlings, the Jordans, didn't succeed because they were born with something the rest of us weren't. They succeeded in large part because of how they responded when things were hard. That response is learnable. It's practicable. It starts with noticing. This week, run your fixed mindset audit. Turn one setback into a learning review. Add the word yet to the places you feel most stuck. Start Monday strong and let that momentum carry you forward. Thank you so much for listening to Mindset Mondays. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with one person who might need to hear it. That's the single biggest thing you can do to help this show grow. And I'll look forward to seeing you next Monday.